What we often see in professional conferences is the expert comes in. It's the person who's known to be the best at this thing. And you can say, oh yeah, I saw so-and-so at the conference about this thing, and therefore I was in the presence of the top expert. I think I learned something. I don't know. That's kind of the opposite of what positive turbulence is. We surely bring in experts to talk for positive turbulence talks, but you're not supposed to emulate them, or they're not the example of what you're supposed to be in this shiny future. They're supposed to really radically change the way you thought about something and really sort of shook the assumptions that you had. And so the positive turbulence speaker, if it's a really good one for you, it's probably not the expert in your expert area. It's someone who's an expert in something else, like they write really great poems, or they're really good with data analytics. And you might be solving a completely different kind of problem, but there's something there for you. There's something in that positive turbulence. A little twist to what you've been doing might just be the answer that you were looking for to give you really dramatic results. And so the positive turbulence speakers come to the community. They are really good at what they do, but they do it in a way maybe you haven't done it before. Think different, do different, be a little different, and see what comes out of it.
Our founder, Stan Griskevich, wrote a book called Positive Turbulence. And really the core concept behind this book is that we have an opportunity as innovators to pay attention to the periphery. It's so tempting, and it is sort of the way that we move through the world, that we are in our lanes. You know, whatever that lane is, the role that you're in, the field that you're in, the industry that you're in, you attend those conferences, you read those books, and you kind of seek inspiration within your lane. And the idea behind positive turbulence is to take a step back, to expand your aperture around the different kinds of worlds that could open you up to new ways of thinking and have you connect in some dots in ways that you haven't before. And so this concept of paying attention to the periphery is one of our values as a community. And we do it very intentionally. We seek to create some intentionally positive turbulence each time we gather by bringing in positive turbulence speakers. And they are invited to come in to be provocateurs, to share their experience from their world, which you may find yourself as you attend an AMI meeting, scratching your head, what could I possibly learn from this group of magicians that's come to talk to me about the world of magic, and how is that going to relate back to innovation? Or what could I learn from this grief counselor who works with people about letting go when they've lost someone they love, about what it means to be an innovator and let go of projects or products or ideas that I've been working on. But that's the point. How can we open our aperture, pay attention to the periphery, and bring in perspectives from other worlds that can shake up our thinking? And that's what we do with positive turbulence speakers. One of the things about positive turbulence speakers that I hear and from members is that in other conferences they attend, they kind of look at the roster of speakers, and that's sort of the filter through which they judge the quality of that experience in that meeting. Was it this big name speaker who, you know, has recently been on the bestseller list, or is recognized in their field for their thought leadership? And again, it's intentionally a little bit different with positive turbulence speakers. We are intentionally looking for people who are going to come from the periphery and shake our thinking up, and you probably haven't heard of them before. There's such a high level of trust in our community that people that our members welcome and are curious to have that dose of positive turbulence in a given meeting, even though the speaker themselves may not be that big name speaker that you would be familiar with. The thing about positive turbulence speakers that's amazing is over the years, so we find positive turbulence speakers, all of us as members of the community are sort of out there and paying attention and aware of when we see a source of inspiration that feels like it's a little bit on the edge of our knowing and on the edge of our what we're paying attention to, and invite those folks in. And over the years, many of our positive turbulence speakers have become members. So the folks who we've invited in to stir the pot for our group have found that for them, this group was so inspiring that they've stuck and they've stayed on as members of the AMI community. One of my favorites was when jazz great and historian Bobby Bradford came and did a live set for AMI. And then he talked about the interface between improv and innovation, and how it is as a group of jazz musicians who are feeding off of one another and engaged in improv, and just the intuition of how they fuel one another's creativity. We explored how that intersects with our role as leaders of innovation within organizations, and how we can enable that same kind of chain of connection in the work that we do. And so this next bit is a short clip from that.
We think it's important, and we're exploring creativity and demystifying creativity in the context of traditional organizations, the business community that we typically work with, to let them look at creativity in yet new frameworks. It's very clear to me that innovation is constant, change is constant, and why not manage change before it manages you? The context is changing around you, and if the context is changing, we need to have the people who are waiting in the wings who can take us yet to our next plateau.
Okay, we're defining followers, finding followers.
Followers, right. Followers who see and recognize a great idea, who did not have the idea initially, but see right away, this man's a genius, and I want to tie my wagon to this star on an artistic level.
Let me make a distinction for you on creativity for me. I know that there's a concept called generative creativity where we're focusing on pure novelty. In my context of organizations, we not only have to focus on novelty, we have to focus on usefulness combined. It has to be novel and it has to be useful for it to be creative.
I understand.
Now, what you're talking about, the Charlie Parkers, they're the person who first, with a clear vision, come up and define a novel setting. But then they find people who can help them explore how to make it useful. Is that clear?
It's much the same. There are people now in later years who will question the validity of Charlie Parker's statement in that by saying, well, Bill Smith over there had a great idea and he was so-and-so, but Bill Smith did not implement the idea.
Okay.
And Charlie Parker did. You see, so a brilliant idea not implemented, you see, is what good is.
So how do you spot, positive turbulence? How do you identify and find those sources of inspiration that we bring in from the periphery to our community? Our founder, Stan, is really one of the great positive turbulence spotters, just the way he moves through the world.
Yeah, I sort of feel if I can learn something from this person, I know the group will learn something from this person. You see somebody like that who's a high school teacher recognized by the Gates Foundation, there must be something special about that guy.
For us as leaders of AMI, our opportunity and role is to spot positive turbulence, to make that initial connection, to spot positive turbulence, to invite that into the group, and then get out of the way. Just step back and get out of the way and not try to over-engineer it, but let it unfold and let the magic of that perspective, of that positive turbulence dance with our group really just unfold. And our aim, when it comes to positive turbulence, what we are making happen, what we want to make happen, what we want to have as an experience for our community is that we provoke, that we inspire, and that we really just spark something.